This week has been all about starting to rearrange my studio to make it possible for me to create the environment that's going to help me move my new work forward. I don't want to overthink this too much and get too precious about it, but on the other hand, I've not been using the space as well as I could. So I got all of the paintings that I made on the Italian retreat pinned up to a cork wall in my studio. They're very thin plywood panels, so all I'm doing is using pins, what do you call them, drawing pins, to hold them on into the cork. And I've set up my sketchbook table. I'm really enjoying having the sketchbook table. It just gives me a place to come in and immediately start working without needing to do anything. The key, I think, is going to be making as much work as possible, because that's where the ideas come from. We create ideas by making work. We don't create ideas by thinking. And I think we create ideas by not judging what we're doing too quickly. I think most people who attempt to make art judge things way too quickly before they're even at the stage of having generated hardly any ideas. They're like judging and finishing. And I want to keep this a place where my work can be as open as possible at all times. So I can do whatever I feel like doing, in whatever way I feel like doing it, and that I can leave everything without judgment. Who's my best baby boy in the whole world? There we go. That's Riley. That's Riley. I'm doing my best to get Riley to be happy in here by making a big fuss of him, by bringing treats in. We're still not really making headway because it's very windy outside, and that wind rattles on the outside of the building and he doesn't like it, do you? You've always been a bit frightened of wind, haven't you? What are you like, eh? So I started this little sketchbook in Italy, and I decided to keep working on it in the studio amongst other books. But in this one, I will just do one thing every day, one thing that I allow to be whatever it is. And I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing in here. So today I feel like drawing a hand in this motion. So I'm putting my hand up in front of me and I'm going to blind draw. And also I'm holding the pencil awkwardly, like right on the end, so that I can't control it. Because what I like is it's the lines that come from this lack of control. Everything about this process for me is about figuring out lack of control. It's about seeing if something new comes out. And at the moment, I do seem a bit stuck on hands, but there's no judging. And then the writing is some lyrics of music that was playing. And so, is there anything else I feel like drawing? I'm just kind of asking myself to put in my left hand and just closing my eyes and putting some lines through. I could just leave it like that, because I quite like that composition. I like this dark here and this dark here. Wanting this feeling of there being a whole world carrying on beyond the page. That feels like maybe just a tad too much, and it's this judgment of this is the only place where thinking comes in, is me feeling like, is that too much? I feel like I want to cover up some of the hand so it's not all completed. If I look at that, see, that one felt too busy to me. This one felt quite interesting. This one felt too busy. I like that one. This is kind of along those lines, this kind of spareness. And I'm liking that simplicity, and I might just leave that one. And then I can come in and do something else on it if I feel like doing something else. But I'm not feeling like adding anything to this, I just like it. This property has numerous outbuildings, all of which are leaking in one way or another, and I've started work on fixing them up, or rather my builders have. So this one is being done by my friends from home who have done an amazing job building my studio, and now they're working. They come up and stay on the weekends and do work on the property for me, and they're putting in a door, a window, some internal doors onto what was just a completely open to the elements barn, and that's going to give us a dry place to store things and a nicer place for the barn cats to live, because at the moment it's very cold and windy in there in winter. I went a little bit later for a look to see what they've done. The only door that isn't getting fixed is this one I'm coming through, because that's what the cats get under. This was a real mess. They've cleared a lot of it out. And then the window that they were building is now in. That was just a hole with some mesh on it. And now it's fully dry window. Across the farmyard is another outbuilding that needs completely re-roofing. You can see the scaffolding up there, and I've hired a local building firm to do this because my friends cannot manage everything. There's only 2 of them. So this is a local builder that had done a little bit of work before and that we liked. He's already enlarged the windows and he's taken all of the roof off. So it's looking a little bit sad at the moment, but it's going to be such an improvement when it's all secured and dry. These are the slates that have been delivered for this roof. So we're currently waiting for the joiner who's going to build the rafters. Yesterday I did this and I decided that this was enough. I'd like to get on with another concertina book, but I'm going to just always start with a page in here. So what I'm thinking to do something different in here is I'm going to start with some writing. And then I'm going to put paint marks on here. And I'm going to keep this. I think I'm going to try stencil and then disrupt it, because I don't like neat patterns. So there's a few ways I can do that. First of all, I can use a really dry brush and not put it on properly. So it's not neat as it's supposed to be, like that. But the next thing I can do is I can smudge some of it. So just like that. So get that paint dragged across here. See, so now doesn't look so structured. I like that. It's like taking something structured and then destructuring it. Another possibility is to, over some of it, I can't get it exactly where I had it because I don't know exactly where I had it. There's a bit there where I put some white over top. Don't really love that. But it just disrupts it again. Riley does not want to be in here. He's here under protest, aren't you? You won't go on the sofa. I was just putting some white paint over it. I'm not sure I love what that did, so I might put my black back. And then I'll need, if this is a double spread, we'll need some black over here. Balance it out, won't we? Quite like that. And it's just putting a dot down and then pressing it in. So again, it's messing up something that was neat. is what I like about that. And then if I put some colour on here, it's going to be prettier. Instantly putting a dash of orange or something on here will make this prettier, and I don't want to be making things prettier, so we won't do that. Quite pleased with that, just because I've experimented with some different things. I've kept some consistency with the words, but I've tried some new techniques and new things, and it's completely different to yesterday's, which is all we can ask for. I like this little sketchbook. I'm very fond of it. Oh, Riley. Hello, darling. I love you. Look, giving up on the rug as soon as he sees the chance to escape. Mummy, can we get out of here, please? Can we get out of here? Need some food. These daily sketches are following on. I'm finding that I'm getting ideas for them from what I did the day before. So this was quite light, so I contrasted it by doing something dark. Now this is half dark, half light, and I'm thinking, what if I went much darker? And I start with charcoal. So I added charcoal and then smudged it, and it just went too light. Tried again, it was still quite light. I tried adding some water, which works really well on wood panel and some paper, but not so well on this paper. And so I turned to black paint, because that was giving me the strength I was really looking for. I really enjoyed doing this, pulling that scribble out of the paint. That was fun. And then this is a white chalk pastel. So the guys have gone. It's all quiet now. Let's have a look in here. So this didn't have doors on it before. So the wind just blew straight in here. That didn't have a door at the back. So leaves blew in through the back. That didn't have a window. It was a window opening, obviously, but it was just empty. And so now it's so quiet in here. Now, the only problem is the cat's feeders are in here, and they've probably been scared to come in. Down here didn't have a door. The cats get in under here, because we haven't replaced this yet. We've got to work out another solution, but they can get in through here, but they've not dared to come in because of all the noise that was happening. So I hope they'll come back, because their little beds are. I just can't believe how tidy and undrafty it feels in here. Amazing. What's hard for me is I flick back through this and I get back to a day like this where I don't like what I did. Just too busy. What's the difference between that and my favourite, which is this one, which is too much? So if I come back and I just eliminate a lot of stuff, does that make me feel better? And which bits do I eliminate? So all of this. Something about it is just really bugging me, all of it. And I don't know what it is. But I've got to be careful that it's not the ugliness that's bugging me. Because we're not going for pretty. So why is it bugging me? Adding that orange in makes me feel better. Orange always makes everything better. And what if we did 3 of those? I think what's happened with this one is, this is exactly what I thought would happen. If I start trying to tidy up, I instantly go into finishing mode, thinking about composition, and that can create problems for me because it starts to become too neat and tidy. So it's a real challenge that I'm going to have to battle with or contend with all the time as I do this work is how do I keep playful and not in finishing mode. You know, it's so easy for this to become, oh, let's tidy this up, and that isn't what I want. Quite like that mark, that black mark with the orange coming into it. I'll put some more orange there. And that's too much orange now, see? I just know it's too much, so I'm going to get rid of it. Such a delicate balance of what I'm looking for. I think a little blob thing here. I prefer this now to what I had initially. Definitely prefer it to what I had initially. But something else needs to come in up through here, probably this orange crayon when that's dry. That page is really exciting to me. Anyway,
remember when your neon used to burn so bright and pink, Saturday night, kind of pink.
So I've been sitting here, I'm trying to rest to get over this bug. And I've been sitting here thinking about that page in the sketchbook that I changed. I'd said I was going to leave all the pages and then I went and edited that one. But there's going to be this dichotomy in this work that I'm making is going to be where I edit and how I do that without finishing, finessing. And I talked about this a bit with Nick at the retreat. He was saying, you know, you've got to be so careful that it stays expressive. And I said to him, I don't want to finish, as I mentioned in a previous vlog when I was talking about the big painting, that I'm going to stop rather than finish paintings. When you switch your mindset from expressing to finishing, you go into kind of up into the intellect, and I start thinking, well, I need to balance that shape with that shape, and what if I added that colour, because that would... And there's something about that whole process that I'm just not interested in. It just feels very facile, and on the surface, I may not always feel like this, it's just how I feel now. How I feel now is I want to get to a place where I stop because the thing that's come out of me is complete, rather than that my brain has worked out how to finish. And so when I'm editing something because I don't like it, I'm instantly, if I'm not careful, moving into that place of refining, finessing, finishing. And so it's not very likely that that's going to work very well. And I think what this means is the sketchbook practice is so important because it's allowing me to develop a visual language, a compositional language, a way of arranging things onto a surface that I can then just do instinctively and intuitively on a larger scale, hopefully without having to think too much. The way I work with colour, that always is very instinctive, and I need the way I work with composition to be the same. So that's why I think this sketchbook practice is so important, and all the different sketchbooks that I'm working in. And I'm going to also create some pieces on paper, working on a table and moving things around. I think I'm going to start that in the next day or two. And that again is going to be about just making lots and lots of work and not judging it, and just developing a facility with the shapes and elements that I'm putting onto the surface, so that I'm just naturally arranging them. I think of Jean-Michel Basquiat or Cy Twombly, and how they could have these really, you know, almost crazed surfaces, but they're so beautifully designed. They're just perfect placement of everything, and yet everything looks as if it's really just been especially with like Twombly sometimes, it's like, it just looks like it's being pressed down from a piece of paper or splattered on, and yet it's splattered on in just the right place. I think that comes from a lot of practice and a lot of work and a lot of expertise to be able to do that. Anyway, that's just what I'm sitting here thinking. So this little book, I like to look at each day. It's not just a one and done. I'm coming back and I'm analysing, what is it about that I like so much? And that I like least. Is it, one thing I don't like is I really see the edges here. This stops before the edge. This doesn't come off the edge. That might be part of it. What else is it? And trying to like figure out. I like this one. I like the different size of shapes of that, and I like these little threads of yellow crayon coming through. This one I don't. This is way too busy and also indecisive somehow. I like this one. I like the black cross and then this black coming back through here, and I like the hands that are just peeping out. This one I really could not salvage. I tried to overwork, tried to cover up, it overworked. It's just not gonna ever work, and I'm gonna leave that page. Quite like the simplicity and messiness of this one, and just this tiny touch of blue. And again, 2 different sized grey smudged charcoals. Really like this one. I like the messiness of these smudged words. I like the structured but messed up stencil. I like this shape, and I've actually started trying that on some pieces of paper and making that kind of shape. And I quite like the drama of the white going through the black. This is a less successful use of that stencil. I think because there's just not enough happening here for me. But then again, really simple and basic, and I like this, and I like that I fingerprinted paint onto a drawing about hands. And the last one is one that I have overworked, definitely. It's this one. But I don't mind this. I had to cover a lot of what I'd done up, and I don't mind where it's ended up. It's not my favourite. What's the difference between that and this? I would say there's more boldness in this, maybe. More confidence and simplicity in the composition than here. It took me a long time to get to that. So it's just, I'm constantly going back to it, and as I make more drawings, looking at what do I love, why, how can that inspire me, and what do I not like, and how can that help me. So that's it for me this week, from me, my little sketchbook, and Riley, and I'll see you next time. Have a good week. Bye.
Down in the valley where the roots lay low and the river bends while the water flows, you were laying down with your toes exposed on a rock you found with the morning's warmth. Oh, I'm glad that I found you. Oh, I'm glad that I found you. I'll call you on the boulevard to tell you, love, that I'm not too far from home, where I can hold you in my arms and play you songs on my old guitar. Oh, I'm glad that I found you. Oh, I'm glad that I found you. Down in the valley where the roots lay low and the river bends while the water flows, you were laying down with your toes exposed on a rock you found with the morning's warmth. Oh, I'm glad that I found you.